Om. In this video, I want to do a short video about the number 5. Today is the 5 life path, so it's a really good time to talk about number 5. So for those who are born on the 5th, the 23rd, the 14th, or who have the 5th month as their birthday, or the 5th year that adds up to a 5, or a 5 life path. Also, there are hidden numbers in your chart that you have to do combinations with, or if you know somebody. This will be a really good video for you. Okay, let's talk about 5. Let's start at the beginning. What is the function and role of 5 in the context of the sequence of the numbers? Okay, so 5 is the communication, the dynamic, the network. Let's talk about it. 1 initiates. 1 comes from nothing. The 0 to initiate, to become, to initiate a direction, a path. 2 is the womb, the polarity that creates, where the 1 impregnates, that makes the 3, the child. So 1 is the direction, the vision. 2 is a sensitivity to environment so that it can adapt this vision to make sure that it fits in the outside world, which leads to expression. 3 is raw expression. 4 is the one who puts the organization, the structure, the container. Now 5 is the communication within the container or the plane. 5 is alchemy. So we have to look at 6 to really understand what does the 5 lead to. 6 is the coherence. 6 is the bonding. 6 is where individuals, this individual network made up of a bunch of individuals becomes one. A community, a country, a family, some sort of binding, perseverance. So 5s are, once you understand that, 5s are designed for travel. They're designed to move frequently because they're there to exchange ideas. They're there to take separate individual groups or people and, like a butterfly, like a bee, cross-pollinate and expose themselves to new ideas and also exchange ideas so that eventually it culminates into one group, one people. So that's why 5s are good for travel. That's why 5s are very quick-witted, because they have to assimilate, alchemize, synthesize information. 5s know a little about a lot. 5s are also good at making friends and networks in different places. Why 5s are considered to be more superficial? Because 5s are about freedom. So if you understand what their role is, okay, now I understand why 5s need freedom. Because when 5 puts down roots, they can't do their job. They can't move around and exchange and cross-pollinate, so to speak. So 5s stay superficial means they're more intellectual, not quite as emotional, because that allows them to cut ties real quickly. If they get emotionally involved, emotionally bonded, emotionally attached, it's easier for them to move. It's harder for somebody to move on. Thus, if he stays intellectual, it's easier to just keep it moving. So what we have in 5, which is why Chaldean is very, very, I like Chaldean a lot because I'm about to tell you, that's a little bit of a superficial about 5, but let's go a little bit deeper behind the scenes. 5 has a 10, 1 in the inside of it, and it has a 5 on the outside. Meaning, this change, this constant need for stimulation, this 5s are restless. They need stimulation. They like diversity. They want to move around a lot. They like to have a lot of noise. They like in an imbalance, they'll be like the dopamine. They need constant stimulation and imbalance. And imbalance, it's just good for 5s to change and move around a lot and not get too stagnant. 5s don't want to be stagnant. 5s also don't want to be contained. They don't want to feel like they're tied down. But we're talking about that. Actually, it's really interesting how this ties in with a 5. I'll talk about it in a moment. So what does a 10 mean and the 5 on the outside mean? It means that 5 is supposed to be dynamic and all this in the outside world, but they're supposed to be guided by the 10. What is a 10? Synchronicity. 1 is purpose, direction, focus. The 0 inside of the 1 is showing that what's driving, what's informing this 1, what's pushing this 1 is 0 is a sign of infinity. It's like the cosmic intelligence, which is abstract, which is very, very much unpredictable. And so 10 is a number of synchronicity. If you have 10 in a prominent place in your chart, you'll be somebody who will see 11, 11, 12, 12, like the different numbers. I had a conversation with a woman the other day. She had a 10 in a prominent position in her chart, and during our conversation alone, there was at least 4 different synchronicities that manifested. For example, I was giving her a numerology reading, and I knew she had a 10, and I was explaining to her before I started going into this about how she needs to follow synchronicities. That's what's going to give her her direction. So don't just, because she was born the 5th day and she had a 10 in a special spot, which I can talk about later. But her travels, her networking, and all this, if fives do this without a purpose, without following the inner guidance, they'll become scattered. It'll become very, very chaotic, a lot of instability. So the 10 is 5 is supposed to follow the synchronicities. Like somebody starts talking about a place and all of a sudden somebody else tells you about this place, and then somehow you see a sign on your way to work where the name of that place is there. A truck drives by, and on the side of the truck, the name of that place. That's like synchronicities. So I was talking to this girl and giving her a reading and telling her about a technique of using a notebook. So first step, you have to get a brand new notebook. And she says, that's crazy because my friend just gave me a brand new notebook the other day. And like this, there was a lot of synchronicity. This is exactly what the 10 is about in the inside of the 5. So 5 is designed to follow synchronicities. Now, what's interesting about this is 5 has a 6 at the heart of it. What does this mean? It seems contradictory because 6 is a number of roots. It's a number of family. It's a number of emotional connection. It's all the things that 5 is initially kind of seemingly running away from. What it shows is actually what gives the 5 the emotional fulfillment is they like to have something to come back to. They like to have some roots somewhere. They like to have family. It's good for them to have a community of people who they can resonate with. Because while they're doing all this travel and change and dynamicism, and a lot of times they're doing it, they're kind of pushed to do it. It's what life is pushing them to do. They really like the comfort of having a family and or community or group of people that have an emotional connection where they can go a little bit deeper where they can have that groundedness. Because 5s can, with too much, they can be too up here intellectual that it can fry out their nervous system, for example, depending on also what other numbers they have. It also shows that 5 emotionally is being called to have a need for responsibility. So in an extreme imbalance, 5 is a person who will go and try all the drugs, all the forms of stimulation out there. From 5 is also kind of like the hookup number, sex, because why is 5 good looking? So 5 is associated with the number of good looks. Why is that? It ties back to what 5 is supposed to be doing. 5 is supposed to have some sort of a little bit of an exoticness look to them, because it makes their job easier to go and exchange information. People with the ideas that the 5 wants to cross-pollinate, when they see a 5, something about them is just exotic. They have that something to them that wants to make them go and talk. And so that it's easier, makes the 5's job easier to create networks, having that attractiveness. 5 is also a sexual energy. It's also the number of the hookup, where 6 is more about for fertility, for family, for children producing like this. 5 is more of like the hookup, because it's a quick stimulation, it's a quick exchange of information, and it's not very deep. It's like a one-night stand type of thing. That's kind of like the 5. That's what they're supposed to do, but they're doing this to create alchemy. But the 6 inside is showing that 5s need to have some responsibility as well. That it actually does feel very, very good for the 5 to have some responsibility. That responsibility will help balance this restlessness out. Where if they have some responsibility, they have some roots somewhere, a family, a community, or relationship, emotional connection with at least another person, that's really, really good for them. So some action codes for a 5 is, don't be too, I wouldn't say don't, let's say the number 1 action code for a 5 or success code for a 5 is following synchronicities. Letting your dynamicism, your change, your movement, your freedom be guided by synchronicities. In order to be having synchronicities, in order to get that clear vision, you really need to be clear. So 5s, it's okay if you want to try things, but don't get addicted, because this 6 on the inside is also showing an imbalanced potential for addictions. Because 6 is the binding number, it's the hex, the bond. Because that's what 6's job is. It's designed to bring things together like a glue, as a perseverance, family bond, emotional bond, connection, country bonds, community bonds. So in imbalance, 5 can get addicted. And when 5 is being addicted, it's showing that they're not following synchronicities, they're just following their intellect and their restlessness to stimulate themselves. Stimulate me, stimulate me, stimulate me. That's how 5s get themselves into trouble. Follow synchronicities. In order to follow synchronicities, which is what I was getting to, all that to say is, Fives need to be careful about alcohol, drugs, things that will cloud their mind. Fives need to keep themselves clear so that they're able to see the synchronicities, they're able to process. If there's too much chaos in the conscious mind, the synchronicities that are being born from the unconscious and then through the subconscious, there's not going to have a lot of room to project and mirror them into your conscious awareness and therefore manifest and reflect on the outside. You may miss them. They'll probably be there, but you're not going to see them. So fives is really, really good to keep themselves clear. Really good with fives is because fives like movement. Fives find it challenging to meditate because they need that constant movement stimulation. Is it good for a five to meditate? 100%. If a five can be committed to a meditation practice, that will do a world of good for them. They'll get a tremendous amount of insights, and it'll be easier to align with the direction of what they're supposed to be doing. That said, a gateway drug into that, or something that's really, really good for the fives in general, is practices that are movement oriented, like yoga, vinyasa flow, where you're in a constant movement. You're getting into your body, and you have a movement going, because fives like that. Also, breathing techniques, because breath is a movement. So like pranayama, in through the right, hold, out through the left, hold, in through the left, hold, out through the right. And you start on the right, whenever you're done, end on the left. That's pranayama. You can also do something called circular breathing. In, out. All the way in, all the way out, but there's no pause at the top, there's no pause at the bottom. There's different types of breathing techniques you can learn. Breath of fire, another one, where you're pumping the air using your stomach, forceful breath out of the nose, pump it back in without breathing in. Like this, empty stomach. Breathing techniques is good for the five as well, something with movement. Okay, with that said, we covered a lot of things in this video: following synchronicities, keeping yourself clear, watching out for addictions, watching out for novelty stimulation. Fives can be very, very much attracted to novelty, which is okay, because they want to learn a lot about a little about a lot. That's kind of the five, and they're like the jack of all trades kind of energy. It's okay, indulge it, but just watch out for addictions. But at the same time, have a family. Your network will end up becoming probably your family, your community. You build this network of people. They may be all over the world, they may be all over the country, maybe online, in person. Somehow you'll find a way to build yourself a network. Fives are great with that. Fives are the people when, if, like, say I need to find somebody who knows how to set up a podcast, let's say. A five is a person who would know that person. Fives, they're the ones who are supposed to know all the people and have this network set up where they have a lot of access to different resources of information in general. So five is somebody that would be really, really well suited for being the go-to person for knowing who knows what, and also for having information. Fives are very, very quick-witted as well. So they're very, very much witty, and they're alchemists. The whole point of five, this movement that seems very erratic and unstable, is actually to create alchemy, is to create this alchemy where all these individual components become one. So it's really, really good to know that for a one, that this is kind of their higher purpose. In other words, indulge change, indulge dynamicism, indulge movement. If you feel like you want to get rid of old clothes, get rid of old clothes. If you feel like you want to move. Indulge change. Change is really, really good for you. Travel is really, really good for you. Mixing it up is really, really good for you. Being out of routine is really, really good for you. Of course, when it's balanced with following synchronicities. It may be urges. It may just feel like something inside of you have a knowingness around it, and also trying to match that with some sort of manifestation where somebody starts talking to you about something that you've been thinking about, for example, or you start seeing signs or weird other markers of indicating something that's been percolating up into your brain. Okay, I think I'll end it here for five. There's a lot more that we can unpack with that if we went higher into the physical, emotional, and spiritual diamonds of five. This is a very simple video. If you found this video useful, please give it a like. Comments, questions, feedback, comment underneath this video. If you'd like to get a reading or analysis with me, leave a comment underneath this video. We can look for where you may have five in energy in your chart, and also looking at how you're supposed to function optimally, thinking and feeling, and some codes for success that is very, very unique to you. Also understanding who you are underneath the surface and what are the layers and the masks that you're built on top of that, and how this all works together to create a life path, a destiny, what you're supposed to be doing in this life, and really decoding that. We can talk about that and more in readings, and if you want to get a reading or an analysis, comment below. We can get set up and connect together. We can build a network, or at least a connection. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button. As always, wishing you the best. God bless. Om.